If I am being completely honest, 2025 was the first and only year where I truly felt that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex finally had a communications operation that matched their stature, their intelligence, and the sheer complexity of their lives. For once, the messaging felt proactive instead of reactive. It felt coordinated instead of chaotic. It felt intentional rather than defensive. And yes, a huge amount of that credit belongs to Meredith Maines. Before Meredith Maines came on board, the Sussexes' communications often felt amateurish. Not because Harry and Meghan lack intelligence or vision, but because they were navigating an unprecedented situation with structures that were never designed for it. Their responses were often slow. Opportunities were missed. Harmful narratives were allowed to spiral unchecked. And far too often the press dictated the framing, while the Sussexes were left responding after the damage had already been done. Then 2025 happened. Suddenly everything shifted. We saw tighter messaging, better timing, clearer priorities. There was finally a sense that someone was thinking several moves ahead instead of constantly firefighting. It was refreshing, it was effective, and it proved something many of us have always believed. When Harry and Meghan are supported by the right professionals, they are unstoppable. So when Meredith Maines left Team Sussex at the end of 2025, of course people had questions. And just as predictably, the British media wasted no time turning her departure into a so-called crisis. Headlines screamed instability. Commentators mocked the number of staff changes. The usual suspects framed it as proof that Meghan is difficult or that the Sussex operation is somehow dysfunctional. But here is the part they never acknowledge. Harry and Meghan are not running a normal celebrity brand. They are not operating within a traditional royal framework. They are not even remotely comparable to other public figures. They are two of the most famous people on the planet who walked away from a centuries-old institution, became targets of a coordinated international hate campaign, and then had to build an entirely new public-facing structure from scratch while raising young children and pursuing meaningful work. Of course, their communications journey has been messy at times. Anyone pretending this is a simple or standard situation is either naive or being deliberately dishonest. And here is the real irony. Despite all the breathless reporting about their staffing changes, Harry and Meghan have been enormously successful anyway. Their projects land, their brand carries weight, their voices still matter, their impact is global. If this is what failure looks like, I would love to see what success is supposed to look like. Now, after Meredith Maines' departure, Meghan has reportedly rehired her old team at Sunshine Sachs, Morgan and Lilis. And once again, the media is working overtime to spin this into something negative. The Telegraph frames it as backtracking, as though returning to a trusted and proven team is some kind of admission of defeat rather than a smart strategic decision. Let us talk about Sunshine Sachs without the media's loaded language. This is not some random firm pulled out of thin air. This is a top-tier celebrity public relations agency with deep experience handling high-profile clients under intense scrutiny. Meghan worked with them long before she met Harry. They represented her during her suit's years. They understand her voice, her values, and her long-term vision. More importantly, there is trust there. Real trust. Meghan's relationship with Kelly Thomas Morgan is not transactional. It is personal. She was a guest at Meghan and Harry's wedding. She has been a sounding board. She has helped shape some of Meghan's earliest post-royal plans. That kind of relationship cannot be replicated overnight with a brand new hire. So when critics scoff and say this is Meghan reverting to the past, What they are really doing is dismissing the value of institutional memory and trusted relationships. In a world where the Sussexes are constantly misrepresented, having advisors who already understand the terrain is not weakness. It is wisdom. The media also loves to obsess over the number of PR professionals the Sussexes have had, as though that alone proves instability. But again, context matters. Many of those roles were short-term. Some were project-specific. Some were transitional as Archewell evolved. Others simply were not the right fit for the unique pressures of the job. That happens in every industry. It just usually does not happen under a global microscope. The idea that Meghan rehired Sunshine Sachs because she panicked or ran out of options is laughable. By many accounts, Sunshine Sachs has been working with the Sussexes off and on since 2017 anyway. This is not a sudden pivot. It is a formalization of an existing, trusted relationship. And let us also address the not-so-subtle attempt to label this as crisis communications. The media keeps emphasizing that Sunshine Sachs specializes in crisis PR. Why? Because Prince William recently hired a crisis manager for his office, and suddenly crisis management has become a buzzword they want to weaponize against Meghan. But Meghan did not rehire Sunshine Sachs because she is in crisis. She rehired them because they are familiar, trusted and effective. Because she is launching, as ever, a lifestyle brand that requires polished, strategic communication. Because she is expanding her work in the United States, where Sunshine Sachs has deep roots and influence. This is about brand building, not damage control. As ever is not a side project. It is a carefully considered extension of Meghan's long-standing interests in food, wellness, community, and storytelling. That kind of brand demands consistency, intention, and a communication strategy that understands both celebrity culture and consumer expectations. Sunshine Sachs is well equipped for exactly that. There is also a broader and genuinely interesting question here. Should Harry and Meghan keep everything in-house, or should they lean on external experts for broader management of brand Sussex? There is no obvious right answer. Keeping things in-house offers control and alignment with values. Going outside brings scale, perspective, and specialist expertise. The fact that there is internal debate around this does not signal chaos. It signals thoughtfulness. Meredith Maines was an in-house hire. She brought discipline and structure, and it showed. Going outside again does not undo that progress. It builds on it. It shows that the Sussexes are willing to evolve their approach as their needs change. Personally, I do not hate this move at all. In fact, it makes sense at this stage. Harry and Meghan are no longer in the immediate post-exit phase where everything was about survival and correcting false narratives. They are now in a phase of expansion. New projects, new brands, new platforms. That requires a different communications posture. The media wants every staffing change to be proof that Meghan is difficult or that the Sussex operation is unstable. But what I see is a couple who refuse to settle for mediocrity, who are learning in real time, and who are not afraid to course-correct when something no longer serves them. And let us be honest. If this were any other powerful couple refining their team, it would be praised as strategic. When it is Harry and Meghan, it is pathologized. The British media's obsession with their staffing says far more about the media than it does about the Sussexes. There is a desperation there, a need to find cracks, a need to undermine their legitimacy. Because despite everything thrown at them, Harry and Meghan continue to thrive. They continue to command attention. They continue to shape conversations. They continue to succeed on their own terms. And that is what truly unsettles their critics. So yes, 2025 showed us what Harry and Meghan can achieve with the right communications leadership. Meredith Maines deserves credit for that. Her departure does not erase the progress made, and Meghan returning to Sunshine Sachs is not a step backward. It is a strategic recalibration rooted in trust and experience. The Sussexes have never claimed to have all the answers. What they have consistently shown is resilience, adaptability, and a refusal to be boxed in by outdated expectations. Their communications journey reflects that reality. It is not linear, it is not neat, but it is real. And if the harshest criticism anyone can muster is that they are still figuring out the best way to tell their own story in a world determined to twist it, then honestly, they're doing just fine.